Well, as I said just a few moments ago, before our pledge drive, which concluded yesterday, I got a hold of Chris Martin and John Buckland from the band Coldplay. We spirited them into a studio in New York City and recorded a very extensive interview, as well as a couple of songs performed acoustically. We chopped everything together, including some songs that we're previewing from the new album, which comes out next week, and it's coming up now on Morning Becomes Eclectic. The new Coldplay album is called A Rush of Blood to the Head. It's the second full-length album from the band, whose debut CD, Parachutes, was platinum just about everywhere it was released. The band's Chris Martin and Johnny Buckland join me to talk about the last couple of years and about the songs on the new album. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us back.
Now, we got a little history here. Your first ever US performance was on Morning Becomes Eclectic at KCRW in December of 2000. And then the last promotional thing you did on that album was when you, Chris, came back just about a year later in December of 2001. And I have to say, Chris, at that time, you really did seem exhausted. And I want to talk about the new record and what's going on for Coldplay today. But what about that year, or I guess year and a half, really, because Parachutes was released in the UK some 6 months earlier. I mean, such a short period of time, but so much happened. I mean, by the time you got to the end of working and promoting that record, I mean, were you guys drained?
Well, I think we were just desperate to record, you know. It wasn't really drained. We were just, our energy was all starting to be focused elsewhere, you know. We really wanted to get back in the studio and put down some new songs, you know.
Yeah, we'd written quite a few that we were all excited about, and we were just absolutely desperate to go to the studio again, you know. We felt like we'd toured Parachutes enough, and we wanted to do something different.
So was it really just about getting to a point where you were sick of the songs or sick of playing the same songs and you just wanted to get some new stuff together?
No, it wasn't as negative as that. It wasn't as
I didn't mean it to sound negative.
As that. No, but it was just like, we thought, oh, well, we really want to play some other stuff, which we like, you know. It's not that we hate any songs, because, you know, songs we hate we just don't play, and we were keen to get these new songs down before they got stolen by NSYNC or whoever was listening.
I remember reading somewhere, Chris, you said that when the band first got together, you wanted to be a reaction to some of the soulless music that you were hearing on the radio at the time. Did that change at all in the period of time that you were out there working and supporting the first album, or did you really get to see even more stuff out there that you felt you had to react to?
Well, you know, I mean, we're advocates of the live and let live theory, you know, but it strikes me as sad that there's so much amazing music and art and, you know, everything creative in America. There's so much amazing, you know, from the Flaming Lips through to the Coen brothers, you know, there's just inspiration all around, and yet often the surface view that you get of America is all sort of packaged pop and commercials everywhere, you know, and it's sad that there's not more of that soulfulness in the mainstream, you know. It's sad that the big blockbusters in the summer aren't necessarily the great movies, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting, as you say. There's definitely a lot of more intriguing or more interesting stuff going on in movies and in music, but it seems to have a hard time getting heard, and you know, there's a whole other conversation there, I guess. But you guys somehow sort of broke through that stuff, and you know, we can talk about Yellow, we can talk about the other album, but at the end of the day, there's almost an element of luck there, isn't there, that somebody gave you the opportunity to have that one song heard.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much we can do, you know. We just try and record and write the best songs we can, but after then,
I mean, at the moment, I personally am scared beyond all belief, you know, that we might just have been a flash in the pan, you know. This could be the last promotional thing we ever do. Not just, not, you know what I mean? So it's just like, at the moment, we're waiting for this album to come out, and it was the most tense I've ever felt in my life.
Oh my gosh.
Even more than when we were waiting for exam results and stuff, you know. Just because we finished it months ago, and, you know, we've got no nails left now.
It's almost like giving birth, I guess. You've done it, you've done all the work, and now you're just waiting for it to, like, you know, get out there and see what it looks like, right?
If only we had a husband to drop our brow.
To take care of you.
Yeah.
The new album, as we said, it's called A Rush of Blood to the Head, and what we're going to do in the next 45 minutes or so is hear a couple of songs that you're going to play for us live, and some songs from the record as well. And we're going to start off with one right now that is actually the kickoff track on the album. It's called Politic, spelt with a K. Can you tell us a little bit about this song, and then we'll hear it?
This song was basically the first angry song that we'd ever done in Coldplay, and it was also the first chance that we had to just bash our instruments incredibly ungracefully, you know, and still try and make a nice noise. And it turned out that where did we record it? In London and Liverpool. It was recorded in about 4 different places.
No, we did most of it in London, though.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was written like on September the 13th, you know, when we were all a little confused and frightened, and but we also wanted to just play something loudly. But you know, in Coldplay, when we try and do something heavy rock, it generally turns out just slightly less mellow.
Well, let's listen to it. It's called Politic, and we'll come back and catch up some more with Coldplay. We're talking with Johnny Buckland and Chris Martin, and this is Politic from the album A Rush of Blood to the Head. I'm Nick Harcourt. It's Morning Becomes Eclectic, and once again we're talking with Chris Martin and Johnny Buckland of Coldplay. The song we're just listening to is the kick-off track from the new album Politic. And you were saying just before that, you know, when you try to do something loud and brash, it just ends up being not as mellow as the rest of Coldplay material. But that certainly sort of makes a statement, I think, at the beginning of the album. Is that fair to say?
Well, I mean, it's weird for us trying to talk about our own records, Nick, to be honest. It's because we're either too harsh or too nice, you know. But I mean, there's definitely a lot more up-tempo stuff just because that's what we're into and that's how the songs came out, you know. And maybe the ones we're picking today aren't necessarily... Maybe we're just in a bit of a relaxed mood today, but there's definitely some more harder stuff. And a lot of the really harder stuff ended up as B-sides because it just didn't really cut it, but...
What's the difference heading into the studio to record a second album after the kind of success that you experienced on the first record? I would imagine it's a completely different experience.
Well, in a way, but also it was exactly the same, really, because once you close the studio door, you just forget everybody outside, and you know, we were excited about all these new songs, and especially when we went to Liverpool for quite a long time. You know, we were just in this tiny studio, very basic equipment, and you know, all the sort of record sales and promo and all that just seems a million miles away, and you just get immersed in a record, and all you care about is, you know, hi-hat and sounds and lyrical, you know, tiny changes, and it's really cool to just become totally geeky about it. And so you just forget. I mean, the time we really feel the sort of the looming pressure of the last record is now, you know, waiting to see whether anyone will like this one, you know.
We didn't really think about parachutes at all when we were in the studio. You know, it's not a case of you know, how we did this and how we did that. We just tried to do the best
we
for
could.
each song.
Yeah, we were just doing whatever felt natural.
Now, you used the same team of people around you to help on production, and you actually finished recording, I believe, at the end of last year in London, right? But then decided you wanted to take some more time to make sure it was right, and that you'd be happy with it for, you know, years to come.
Well, actually, it was weird. It was just after we saw you in Los Angeles. We went to our record company Capitol in is it Hollywood and Vine or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And our MD, I don't know if that's his proper title, but he played us some George Harrison stuff off a record called All Things Must Pass. And there was 2 songs on there, one called My Sweet Lord and one called Isn't It a Pity, that just something went in my head, told me that we didn't have anything as good as them on our new record, and so we went back and scrapped a lot of songs, and we're very lucky that some new ones came out, you know, and that was directly a result of being shown that record. But also when we went to Liverpool, it was like a big liberation, you know, because we were completely away from any sort of pressure and
Distraction.
Yeah, it was just, we had complete freedom to write whatever we wanted and, you know, sing however we wanted, and it was really nice, you know.
It might be hard for a lot of people in the American audience to understand that you can go from, you know, London to Liverpool and it be a completely different experience. But just explain a little bit why it is different. Obviously, London is the capital and Liverpool is almost this provincial city at the top end of the country. But, I mean, I guess you're not surrounded by the business and you can just go and do your thing. Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, there's very few people from the record industry there, and
We don't have any friends there.
no.
It's best to be lonely when you're recording, and lonely and miserable. To be somewhere where it's raining and you're lonely.
Yeah.
That's where we make our best work.
Why did you pick Liverpool? What was it about Liverpool? Or was there a particular studio that you wanted to be in?
Well, yeah, Parr Street Studios is where we did some of the first record. and it's actually number 3 studio Empire Street if you're thinking of booking it.
Right.
And we were there because, well, it was an amazing stroke of fortune because Ken, our producer, and Mark, who we work with, they're both Liverpudlians, and we just ended up there because they were close to their homes, and we didn't mind staying away from our own homes, and yeah, and just with the history of the last record, we just felt really comfortable there, you know.
Let's come back and talk some more in a moment about Liverpool and obviously the songs on this record and the experience of making it. But first of all, we're going to listen to a live track right now,
Yeah.
an acoustic recording of the song The Scientist,
Okay.
which is on the new album. Tell us a little bit about The Scientist. It seems particularly mournful. I mean, is that fair?
Well, for us, this was the turning point in the record, and it's really designed to be played on a piano, and I'm not sure whether it will work in this particular format, but we just wanted to give it a try.
Right.
But yeah, on I think we should listen to the record, but we will play it. But it's cool because we wanted to have a piano ballad with a really heavy distorted guitar on it, because no one's ever done that, and that's what the aim was. We wanted to try and mix John Lennon and Korn in the same song.
We're definitely not going to get that experience, I think, on the acoustic version.
No,
but,
exactly. It won't quite come off like
but-
that, but...
But I do promise that we'll play the album version as well, honest.
Oh, thanks, man.
All right.
Okay, well, we'll give it a bash now, though.
And it's Coldplay, and Our Morning Becomes Eclectic, and we'll come back and talk some more with Chris Martin and Johnny Buckland in a moment, but right now we're going to listen to The Scientist.
For KCRW, this is Coldplay, The Scientist. Come up to meet you, tell you I'm sorry. You don't know how lovely you are. I had to find you, tell you I need you, and tell you I set you apart. So tell me your secrets and ask me your questions. And no, let's go back to the start. Running in circles or chasing our tails, heads on a silence apart. Nobody said it was easy. Oh, it's such a shame for us to part. Nobody said it was easy. No one ever said it would be so hard. I'm going back to the start. I was just guessing at numbers and figures, pulling your puzzles apart. Questions of science, science and progress do not speak as loud as my heart. So tell me you love me, or come back and haunt me. Oh, when I rush to the start, running in circles, or chasing our tails, coming back as we are. Nobody said it was easy. Oh, it's such a shame for us to part. Nobody said it was easy. No one ever said it would be so hard. Oh, take me back to the start.
Once again, I'm Nick Harcourt. It's Morning Becomes Eclectic. We're just listening to a live recording of The Scientist, a live acoustic performance. And as Chris Martin was saying before we listened to it, somewhat different from how it ends up on the album. But I'm always full of admiration for you guys that when you do come in and do this stuff acoustically, you're prepared to take a bash at something in a different form. And, you know, I appreciate it. You know, it gives us a chance to hear something in a different form. And perhaps, you know, when we get a little bit of an insight into the writing process. I don't know. Maybe I'm just...
Yeah, no, it's weird because these are like old songs for us now, and so we're keen to hear different versions of them, but we just sometimes forget that some people haven't even heard the basic version of it. And so we're going, well, this is the remix of our new acoustic version of this.
Right.
People are going, well, I haven't actually... So...
We were talking about Liverpool and the fact that you finished the record in Liverpool and went into a studio that you were familiar with and had the opportunity to get away from, I guess, the pressures of perhaps being in London and trying to finish the record because there was no label people around and all that kind of thing. But there were some other things about Liverpool as well. I think that you, Chris, have buddied up a little bit with Ian McCulloch of the Bunnymen, right?
Yeah, we keep being asked about this, and it's great because if only people sort of imagine that we sort of sat down with clipboards and, you know, pie charts and said, now listen, this is how you make a good record, boys. And we were like, okay, Ian, thanks a lot. But in fact, it was just a case of him coming in and drinking wine while we were singing or something and just cracking jokes, you know.
Right.
I mean, he's a lovely, lovely man. And we loved, I mean, we really got into the Bunnymen and the Cure and all that sort of era of bands when we were making this album. And hanging out with Mac was just, it was really fun, you know.
I remember the first time we met, we talked about some of the earlier influences on the band.
Sure.
But what about some of the more recent influences? Obviously, you're saying you were listening to The Cure and the Bunnymen, which is kind of old stuff. But is there other stuff that you came across in the last couple of years on your travels that maybe influenced this record in any way?
Well, absolutely. I mean, although it might sound weird, we really loved meeting people like... Well, not doesn't sound weird, but, you know, although we don't sound like them, we just got inspired by the fact that they were doing something passionate. Was that people like PJ Harvey and At the Drive-In or latterly Sparta, you know, and Nick Cave and U2 and all these people we were running, and the Bunnymen and bands like Ash, you know, and running into all them was just cool because you meet people who are doing the same thing you're doing, which is like trying to write soulful music but with melodies, you know, and we're all sort of struggling together. So it was cool to meet all them.
What about traveling across America? You spend a lot of time here, obviously, and earlier on in the interview, you referenced you know, some of the pop culture here and how kind of strange it can be to experience it. But I mean, you crisscrossed the country a couple of times. What did you take out of that?
Well, we took a great deal of old records, I think. And an amazing record culture here. You know, the old record stores and stuff are just gold mines of fantastic records. You know, we take a DJ out with us, and every town we go to, he takes a few of us, usually Guy, but a few of us out to a record store and just buy tons of old records and then come and play them at night. And it's just exposed us to a lot of stuff.
I love going jogging or running as well, and so I'd been running in the most bizarre places, you know. And like I tried to go running in Austin, Texas, and nearly melted. So we just took experience. I mean, it's really nice to see a bit of the place you're in, even if it's only 2 kilometers either way. You know, we try and have a look around the place we're at. You know,
it must have been such a surreal time to be suddenly traveling around the globe, and you're in and out of airplanes and limos and hotels. I mean, this is rock star stuff.
Well, I mean, you know, I'd say limos like once and airplanes twice.
Oh, come on.
You know, but don't glamorise it, man.
But you know,
we go most places on horseback.
Yeah,
like the old wagon trails.
You know what I'm saying, though. This has got to be a little weird, right?
Well, it's amazing. You know, we have the most amazing life in the world, and the only reason we sound a bit grumpy today is because we're just anxious about, you know, actually doing our side of the bargain, which is making good records, you know. I mean, that's why we really put everything into our records, because we want to sort of validate the amazing lifestyle that we've been given, you know.
Got to feel like you actually deserve it. Is there some of that going on?
I mean, it's ridiculous sometimes. and we don't even do like a tenth of what some artists do. I mean, I don't know how you'd handle. I mean, I don't know if I had loads of fast cars, it would just make me feel so guilty. Like, just what have I done to deserve this?
We're going to listen to another song, which is actually quite appropriate for where we're at, because it's called "God Put a Smile Upon Your Face," and I would imagine there's been a lot of smiling going on in the last year or so. But tell us a little bit about this song. Can you just give us a little bit of an intro to it?
Well, this is a song about hell. Although it sounds like a happy song, it is a happy song, but it's about your. I don't know what it's about, Nick. Let's just play it. I hate talking about our songs. It's not about hell.
I love talking with Chris Martin. You're the most interesting interview I ever do, because I never know what to expect.
You can place the word interesting with stupid. I never know what to expect. That's the glorious lottery that is interviews with Coldplay.
Okay, let's listen to this now. It's a track from the Coldplay album Rush of Blood to the Head, and it's called "God Put a Smile Upon Your Face," and we'll come back and we'll talk some more with Chris Martin and Johnny Buckland. This morning becomes Eclectic at KCRW. We're talking with Johnny Buckland and Chris Martin from the band Coldplay. We just listened to a song called "God Put a Smile Upon Your Face." It didn't sound like it was about hell to me, to be honest with you, but
no.
It's
just about when you can't believe what a great life you've been given. That's basically what it's about. In this amazingly strange world where one person can be born and be like a farmer's son in Kenya, and another person can be born and be the Prince of Monaco. You know what I mean? It's just odd how you get put in your place, and you know, that's what it's about. It's about when you can't believe that you're in a band and you get away with it.
Well, let's use that as a jumping off point to just sort of go over onto the left-hand side of the corner here in my studio anyway, because I know that earlier this year, Chris, you traveled to Haiti to help promote the work of Fair Trade, which is an organization committed to improving trading conditions of third world producers. It seems to me that, you know, you really are trying to use the privileged position you have, I guess, to make a little bit of a difference, and that can sound trite sometimes, and I don't want to sound like that, but maybe you could just put it in your own words why you feel that you want to use whatever position you have to try and highlight these conditions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm well aware of looking like a complete fraud and an idiot, but it just seemed to us that we kept getting asked to give our music to commercials, you know, and advertisements for huge sums of money, and we just really would never want to do that, because it's just horrible, we think. And then we thought, well, instead of advertising, like, you know, a pair of shoes, why don't we you know, advertise something that we care about? And Oxfam, this organisation, approached us to become part of their MakeTradeFair.com project, which you can find all about on MakeTradeFair.com, and they took me to Haiti and basically instructed me in the ways of world trade, which are basically outrageous. You know, what big companies and international trade delegations get away with. You know, the exploitation is horrific, and they just said, listen, can you just mention it as often as possible? You know, and so I'm not like trying to be, you know, some, you know, angelic guy who's, you know, saving the world. All I'm doing is just saying something that we care about, you know, more than we care about advertising breakfast cereal. Do you know what I mean? Yeah,
I read somewhere you've been offered ridiculous amounts of money to license Yellow for various products, which
well, it's lots of songs actually, isn't it?
Yeah, quite a few.
Yeah, but we just don't want to do that. I mean, it makes me so sad when you see like Samuel L. Jackson on a bank advert, you know, because I mean, I love that act. I mean, I think he's a great actor, and I mean, if we really needed the money or the exposure, then of course we'd do it, I'm sure. But when you see like a big name, when Sting does a car advert, that just makes me a bit sad, you know, because he doesn't need to do that.
He certainly doesn't need the money.
Yeah. It's just sad, because if you're a fan of a song and then suddenly you see it selling sneakers, it's just a bit of a letdown, I think.
Well, my experience with that, and you know, it's funny because people who in advertising agencies listen to our program, for cool songs, and 6 months later, all of a sudden you see them on the TV, and it kind of freaks me out a little bit to all of a sudden see something like that, because you feel like it's been co-opted, and all of a sudden it loses some value in some way, and I understand why if you're a struggling band. And somebody comes along and offers you a chunk of change to use your song. Well, if the band can pay the rent for the next year, then that seems to me fair enough. I mean, I don't know. It's difficult to see where the compromise would be, and I guess it would depend on the individual.
Sometimes it's nice to not have to sell out if you don't have to.
If you don't have to, exactly, and I guess that's what it comes down to. Everybody's got their own decision to make, and depending on where you're at, depends on what that decision would be. But I mean, I just appreciate the fact that you would use your status, if you like, to publicize things that perhaps wouldn't ordinarily.
But I'm not pretending to be. I'm not pretending to be any authority or any better person. All we're doing is just saying, listen, if you like Coldplay, then why don't you look at this website. MakeTradeFair.com. You know what I mean? It's not really anything more than that.
We were just talking about Yellow and singles and all that kind of stuff, and the next track that we're going to hear is actually you're going to play a live version of In My Place, which is the single. So why don't we listen to that, and then we'll come back and talk a little bit more, and
okay.
And then I think we got another song we're going to play later on.
This could be weird. We are setting ourselves challenges today. I mean, this is meant to be on big strings, but we'll tackle it on the acoustic form.
We'll try not to butcher it.
Yeah. Okay.
You're listening to Morning Becomes Eclectic. It's Coldplay, and we're talking with Johnny Buckland and Chris Martin, and this is a very stripped-down version, 2 guitars and a vocal version of In My Place. We're talking with Chris Martin and Johnny Buckland from the band Coldplay. The new album is called A Rush of Blood to the Head, and we just heard an acoustic rendition of the first single, I guess you would call it, because I'm sure there'll be another one. In My Place is the name of the song. And let's talk a little bit about singles and the fact that you had this success with Yellow in particular, obviously. I mean, there were other songs that did well off the record, and people bought the record for all of the songs, I'm sure. But Yellow was, the big hit in America. And I'm wondering if I know for example that you're fiercely independent, but you've got to have people around you who are making suggestions. Did you get those kind of suggestions, like give us another single like that? How about Red? Let's do that one. I mean, were you getting that kind of stuff?
No, we weren't, and thank goodness we weren't. But we're beginning to regret it now. But no, we're not. But it's weird because what is a single? How can you sit down and think, oh right, let's write that song again, but slightly different. I mean, we just all our songs at some stage we think are going to be big hit singles, and then we're always wrong, except once when we were right, and it was a great thing to have a single, but I think marketing people would not point to us as a singles band. I think in Britain we've just been beaten in the charts by a pop band again, and we can't. We're not a big singles band, I don't think. I wish we were, but we're not. It's sad. It's terribly sad.
Let's talk about the instrumentation on the album. It feels bigger. The last one was very much an acoustic record, and although you haven't exactly turned into U2, the record feels more brooding, bigger, almost challenging. I was thinking about this as we were preparing for the interview, and I'm not sure if you're challenging the audience to go with you as the songs evolve, or if you each threw down a gauntlet or something in the studio and said, okay, now let's do this better. How can we make it better? Or is it both?
Well, we just got incredibly excited about music, which is a really cool way to be feeling when you're making a record, and we just went off on our trail and then handed it in at the end, a bit like some sort of silly science project that you just get carried away with, and we know that we've abandoned some of the sonics that we had before, but we hopefully still keep the priorities of emotion and melody, and we really wanted to maintain them as our priorities.
Yeah, while at the same time pushing ourselves somewhere different.
Yeah, exactly. That was our challenge that we set ourselves.
Were the conscious decisions to bring certain instruments in, to bring strings in, to try things in a different way?
No, it just seemed to be the way that the songs were coming out, Like certain songs came out and seemed to demand certain treatments.
Right.
The front end of the album is a lot more up than the second half, which is probably more old Coldplay or old play, isn't it? I don't know. I really find it hard talking about our records, Nick. Why don't we talk about your radio show? How do you feel about the success of it?
No, I know what you're saying. I mean, it is difficult, and I know that at the beginning of the interview you said, we just want to get the record out there and see how people respond to it, and then obviously, you'll back it up with touring and all that stuff. So
I do know that it's the thing that, like the first album, while we were making it, you just make it to the point of obsession, and we've all put more passion into both of our records than we've ever put into anything else in our lives, and we care so deeply about them. That's why it's weird talking about them, because you either end up being grossly biased, because I could sit down and talk to you for 50 hours about all the little pieces of work that went into this record and the last one, but you just get really bored, Well,
let's talk about girls.
Okay. Really? That's an even more depressing subject in my.
We got one more song we're going to play. We can talk about girls all night. I mean,
we could, man.
I'm sure we could.
You've got a girlfriend there.
Well, I was going to talk about your girls.
I can't talk about that. With every day that goes by, I become more of a loser. Hopefully I'll come round to being a winner again.
Listen to the lyrics. That's all I have to say, right?
Yeah.
We're going to finish up with another song. It's Amsterdam. And I picked this as we were going through our selection at the beginning. I picked some songs that I wanted to play, and I said Amsterdam, and you said, I don't know about that. So you've got to tell us a little bit about this song. First of all, it's the last song on the record. Is there a reason why you weren't sure that we should be playing this one?
No, just that no, just that maybe there's some other ones. I don't know. Whatever, man. Listen, it's your show, and I'm in a grumpy mood, and I think you're right to play this song. I think it's a very wise choice. It's a nice song, and it was written in Amsterdam. That's why it's called Amsterdam.
There you go. I figured it might be
Thank
something
goodness
like that.
it wasn't written in
Dulwich.
Yeah,
sure.
we were sitting in Dulwich thinking about Amsterdam. Well, listen, I want to thank you for, first of all, spending the time and talking to us on Wanna Becomes
Thanks, man. You
Eclectic.
cheered me up, so it's fine.
And well, good. You did pretty good, because at the beginning of this, I was like, I don't know, he's grumpy, but we appreciate it. And
Well, thanks a lot.
Thanks, Nick.
good luck with the tour, because
Okay.
I know you're doing a little one and then a bigger one. I know we'll see you later on in the year. And the record, as we said, is called A Rush of Blood to the Head. And it's not too much longer for you to sweat. It'll be in stores in a couple of weeks, and I'm sure people will like it. So congratulations on the record, and good luck.
Thanks a lot, man.
We're going to wrap things up with Amsterdam. Oh, by the way, say hi to the other guys in the band for us as well, would you? We've been talking to Johnny and Chris, but Guy Berryman and Will Champion as well. And
They've left, man.
that's it.
We've got 10 session musicians now. They've gone on. They're going to do their Simon and Garfunkel thing. Terribly sad. No, we will say hello. I don't know, where are they actually at the moment?
They're just out.
They're out. They're always out, those two.
We're wrapping it up. Here's Amsterdam from Coldplay.
Okay, thanks for having us, man.